The manga begins with a protagonist who thinks that a girl named Shinobu Rinko is incredibly cute. His classmate is gentle and kind, making her very popular in class. One time, a classmate suddenly pokes her with a cold drink, startling her so much that her dinosaur tail pops out. Immediately, the protagonist shouts that there's a flying dinosaur outside the window, successfully diverting everyone's attention. When a classmate points out that it's just a regular bird, the others assume the protagonist is being weird again. Meanwhile, Rinko, a human with dinosaur genes, hides her tail beneath her skirt. The fact that she's a dino-human is a secret that Kobake Kazuya is determined to help her keep. However, he's beginning to feel like he's hitting his limit as he constantly needs to shout out dinosaur names to draw everyone's attention away from Rinko. There's a reason why he can't stop helping her. Kazuya has feelings for her, but he tells himself that he only loves her dinosaur parts. Being a dinosaur enthusiast, he thinks dinosaurs are the coolest and even labels himself a dinosaur otaku. He believes that if the world were to learn that such an attractive dino-human exists, there would be widespread panic. Keeping her secret is like protecting dinosaurs for Kazuya. So without fail, whenever Rinko's tail accidentally appears, Kazuya does his best to draw everyone's attention to him, even though everyone judges him harshly for it. Rinko feels touched and quite apologetic for causing him trouble. She explains with tears in her eyes that her recent accident happened because a bug surprised her. Seeing her crying face and dinosaur hands makes Kazuya blush and he becomes immediately fascinated. Kazuya assures her that it's fine, especially since she resembles a Therizinosaurus, which he claims is super cool. Hesitantly, Rinko is about to tell him something, making Kazuya curious, but then they're interrupted by the arrival of their classmates. As Rinko's friends appear, Kazuya desperately covers Rinko's tail, making them look very awkward. The girls ask Kazuya if he just confessed to Rinko, revealing that they've noticed him constantly watching her and suspect he has fallen for her. Unable to reveal the truth, Kazuya remains silent. One of the girls then tells him that his behavior is bothering Rinko as being followed around is unpleasant. Recalling that Rinko wanted to tell him something, Kazuya wonders if the girl is right and glances at Rinko. The dino-human looks down, then suddenly bolts away, seemingly confirming their classmate's point. The guys console Kazuya, reminding him that no one has ever had their confession accepted by Rinko. While he worries that Rinko might actually feel bothered by him, a classmate remarks on his constant shouting, joking that it's not like a dinosaur would ever appear outside their window. Just then, a terrifying dinosaur does appear, shocking and scaring everyone in the classroom except Kazuya, who is amazed. Moments later, the dinosaur vanishes, and below the window, Rinko's tail retracts back into her skirt. She looks utterly embarrassed despite being a fearsome Tyrannosaurus. The next day, Kazuya is back to shouting dinosaur names to protect Rinko, but this time, everyone believes him. With dinosaur fever on the rise, Kazuya's job becomes far easier, and he wonders if showing her dinosaur self was something Rinko did to help him. Just as he's thinking that he doesn't want to trouble her, the dino-human approaches him and whispers in his ear that she doesn't find his help annoying. Rather, it makes her happy. As she leaves, she thanks him for everything, leaving Kazuya flustered but determined to continue helping her. It all started a month ago on the first day of high school. Kazuya, who had been a closet otaku during middle school, was determined to change himself and become one of the popular kids. As first impressions are important, he resolved to keep his cool no matter what happened. So when he found himself face to face with a gigantic dinosaur, Kazuya initially looked unflappable. However, when the terrifying giant let out a roar, he promptly lost his composure. Kazuya was shocked to see a creature that shouldn't exist, a Tyrannosaurus hailed as the strongest in history. Terrified, he immediately thought of escaping, but his otaku side emerged, making him ecstatic to see a real dinosaur in person. Suddenly, the Tyrannosaurus spoke, apologizing for startling him. A bright light enveloped the dinosaur before it transformed into a girl. Much to Kazuya's shock, she said he could call her a dino-human and became shy upon remembering he saw her dinosaur body. The girl revealed that she didn't know much about the outside world as it was her first time going to school. Smiling, she introduced herself as Shinobu Rinko, while Kazuya was still stunned. The next day, Kazuya was still grappling with what Rinko had revealed the previous day. He struggled to process the fact that she was a dinosaur with the appearance of a human. Just then, he notices her tail coming out, though their other classmates hadn't noticed it yet. When a classmate leaned toward Rinko's back to get a better view of Kazuya while talking to him, Kazuya quickly redirected his classmate's attention. He then leaned in to whisper to Rinko to hide her tail, but she genuinely believed there was no issue with others knowing about it. Noticing their classmates' confused expressions, Kazuya quickly explained what a Tyrannosaurus was, only to realize how odd his behavior must have seemed. He cursed inwardly, but one of the boys assured him to relax, teasing that he'd been acting this way since their first day of school. Meanwhile, the girls began chatting about how Tyrannosaurus were big, scary lizards, adding that they'd run away if they ever saw one in real life. Rinko looked disheartened, half-heartedly agreeing that dinosaurs were frightening. Kazuya, noticing her tail slowly retracting into her skirt, decided to say something. He boldly declared that dinosaurs weren't as ferocious as people thought, instantly grabbing everyone's attention. He explained that recent studies suggested Tyrannosaurus lived in family groups or packs, and might even care for injured members until they recovered. While they might appear intimidating, Kazuya emphasized that they were also nurturing and kind-hearted creatures. His words deeply moved Rinko, making her blush. Stunned, their male classmate realized Kazuya must love dinosaurs a lot, while the girls started to think he was a total weirdo. Later, Kazuya thought he had screwed up again, but couldn't help but be afraid of what might happen if he left Rinko alone. Suddenly, the girl in question showed up, looking quite timid. Immediately, Kazuya became worried, but she told him she just wanted to apologize. Rinko revealed that she had actually intended to introduce herself to everyone as a dinosaur, believing she would get along well with everyone despite her identity. Kazuya told her it wasn't a good idea, as such a revelation would attract attention from the entire world. Rinko then decided to keep her identity hidden and apologized to Kazuya for causing him so much trouble. She promised to be more careful from now on, but Kazuya interrupted her. He said that hiding Rinko's identity meant protecting dinosaurs. As a dinosaur enthusiast, Kazuya was eager to help Rinko keep her secret. He promised to be cautious when discussing dinosaurs to avoid revealing anything. While Kazuya fretted, Rinko smiled, thinking how kind he was. Beaming, she thanked him, grateful to have met him. Flustered, Kazuya blushed. Rinko is about to eat her lunch while Kazuya observes her. To his shock, the dino human not only eats the meat of her chicken, but the bones as well. He's mulling over the bite force of a Tyrannosaurus when Rinko notices him and offers Kazuya some of her lunch. Kazuya declines, saying the bones are a bit troublesome for him, but actually he's too embarrassed to share an indirect kiss with her. Determined to help Rinko keep her dino-human secret, Kazuya ends up having lunch with her. Rinko apologizes for taking his time, but Kazuya reassures her it's no problem, adding that she'd draw too much attention eating 6 boxes of fried chicken on her own. He recalls how she used to eat the same portions as everyone else, prompting him to note that she eats rather modestly for a Tyrannosaurus. When Kazuya asks why she wanted to eat with him, Rinko explains that he's the only one who knows her secret, then cheerfully declares that food tastes better when shared. Her radiant smile makes Kazuya look away, admitting that he has always eaten alone. Secretly, he's thrilled to witness a living Tyrannosaurus again, and can't help but admire her majestic dinosaur form. To his surprise, Rinko becomes flustered, and he realizes he accidentally spoke his thoughts out loud. Embarrassed, she admits it's awkward showing him her dinosaur form since she isn't wearing any clothes in that state. After a pause, Rinko hesitates before asking Kazuya a question. She wonders why Kazuya loves dinosaurs so much, all the while blushing heavily. Kazuya gets embarrassed before revealing that when he was little he found a shellfish fossil, which existed at the same time as dinosaurs. Rinko listens intently as Kazuya reveals that he's been interested in ancient creatures ever since, feeling an attraction unlike any he has for today's creatures. He can't help but fantasize that dinosaurs could have roamed where they are now, as there had been dinosaurs in the Japanese archipelago long ago. Kazuya believes that there are many dinosaurs yet to be discovered. Even if dinosaurs are from a bygone era, Kazuya can't help but be smitten by the unbelievable fantasy of dinosaurs stepping on the same ground under the same sky with humans. Imagining such a scenario makes him excited, and this is why he loves dinosaurs. Rinko falls silent, and immediately Kazuya thinks he did something wrong, recalling how his other female classmates think his enthusiasm for dinosaurs is gross. Seeing Kazuya worry, Rinko tells him there's nothing wrong, but her face is very red as she mutters that Kazuya likes dinosaurs. Kazuya freezes, his mind racing, before realizing that she must have equated his love for dinosaurs with having feelings for her. Kazuya tells her that's not what he meant, but still, Rinko can't look him in the eyes. Worrying that she must think him gross, Kazuya can't believe he accidentally confessed to her and was then rejected. He fails to notice someone observing him, a girl who seems to be upset with him. The next day, Kazuya continues to help Rinko by distracting their classmates, and this time they don't doubt his dinosaur sightings anymore. Rinko apologizes for losing control of her dinosaur tail again over a bee, explaining she had feared that the sting from it would be as painful as getting hit by the tail of a stegosaurus. Suddenly, someone interrupts their conversation. It's a bespectacled girl who berates him for constantly interrupting their classes. When she threatens to make an issue of it, a cowed Kazuya apologizes to their class president. Hilariously, none of them notice that the teacher is still present. After school, Kazuya tells Rinko that she should undergo some special training to solve her tail problem, making the dino-human apologize. Kazuya tells her not to be sorry, as he doesn't mind at all being a dinosaur otaku himself. Besides, he understands what she feels as he had to hide his otaku self from others. He tells Rinko that her tail is part of her, so she has nothing to apologize for. The dino-human is surprised by his words before smiling. She becomes fired up, even saying that even a stego spike won't stop her. To start the lesson, Kazuya tells her the reason why she loses control of her human form, because Rinko is jittery and reacts to the slightest stimulus. To overcome her problem, he states that they should conquer her fear. And so, Kazuya places a praying mantis right in front of her. The scary-looking insect immediately creeps Rinko out, but Kazuya only reminds her that she's a Tyrannosaurus. Next, Kazuya trains Rinko to be able to transform parts of her body at will. He's quite excited to see a cute dino girl transformation, but Rinko only chooses to transform her head into a dinosaur, which isn't quite what he's imagining, but he's still happy. Then, Kazuya trains Rinko's endurance, but she immediately devours her chicken, bones and all. They repeat the training with the praying mantis before doing specialized transformations again. Hearing that Kazuya is happy to see her dinosaur head, Rinko becomes overjoyed, and so the training continues. Later, Kazuya muses that he's not sure if the training will help, having no idea how they would train for skillful transformation. Still, he recalls that Rinko is pretty determined to improve herself. Looking at his cold drink, he suddenly recalls something. Kazuya tells Rinko that they should also train her in cold stimulation, which she is confident in succeeding. She takes off her scarf and exposes her nape, telling him to be gentle with her. Kazuya becomes so flustered that he drops his drink on her exposed skin, causing her tail to pop out in surprise. Teary-eyed, she calls him a meanie, making Kazuya apologize profusely. Suddenly, somebody arrives. It's Sumino, who says she heard a scream. Upon noticing that Rinko is crying, Sumino becomes mad and doesn't let the other two explain. Suddenly, there's a bright light. Peeking from his hands, Kazuya sees a giant dinosaur leg. To his shock, there's a Triceratops right where Sumino was. The dinosaur speaks, declaring that all who hurt Rinko shall be skewered. The other two look alarmed before Kazuya loses his cool at seeing a Triceratops. Sumino, who is both their class president and a student council executive, is someone that everyone looks up to. Naturally, Kazuya has never spoken to her, but at the moment, he can only think that it's completely unbelievable that she has just transformed into a Triceratops. For a moment, he becomes distracted by recalling what he knows about Triceratops, and almost gets hit by the dinosaur's horns. Sumino speaks, saying that his constant shouting in class is why Rinko ended up showing her dinosaur form, adding that he also made her cry. She declares Kazuya an enemy of the dino humans and therefore must be skewered as penance. As Sumino goes for an attack, Kazuya tries to make her see sense while a horrified Rinko screams in fear. In the next second, Rinko in her dinosaur form collides with the Triceratops. Alarmed, Kazuya reminds them that they're still on school grounds and people might see them. He's trying to think of how to cover up the incident, but he can't help being excited at seeing two dinosaurs going against each other. Sumino tells Rinko that it's human nature to be interested in anything out of the ordinary, and dino humans could easily become spectacles for human entertainment. The Triceratops says that the existence of dino humans shouldn't be made known to humans yet, and tells Rinko to get out of her way, but the Tyrannosaurus doesn't budge. Meanwhile, Kazuya wonders if the two dino humans know each other. Rinko tells Sumino she's mistaken and transforms back into her human form before putting herself in front of Kazuya. When Sumino asks what she means, Rinko states that she knows Sumino has always been opposed to showing her true form, but Kazuya has treated her like a human being despite knowing what she really is. She insists that Kazuya hasn't done anything wrong and, to his shock, declares that Kazuya is hers. Suddenly, a pole loses its balance and starts to fall toward the unsuspecting Rinko. Startled, she freezes, unable to move, leaving Sumino horrified. Kazuya leaps into action, shielding her with his own body. A loud clang echoes through the air. The next day during lunch break, Kazuya is in good spirits as he still can't get over how strong and fast a Triceratops is, as demonstrated by Sumino, who had saved them from the pole yesterday. Rinko apologizes for dragging him into all of that and reveals that Sumino is her friend. Kazuya tells her that it wasn't her fault, but Rinko grabs his sleeve and thanks him for protecting her. Kazuya blushes, at a loss for words. Panicking, he comments that it's quite mysterious that there were no witnesses to yesterday's incident. Sumino appears, claiming it was her doing. She looks at Kazuya with disapproval and reveals that she had sent everyone home in advance by using her authority as a student council executive. When Kazuya asks what happened to the damages they caused, Sumino answers that she handled that as well. Huffing, Sumino then tells Kazuya that she owes him a debt before bowing toward him in apology. She reflects that it was her careless behavior that put Rinko in danger. And despite that, Kazuya was willing to put his life on the line to protect her, admitting that she may have misunderstood him. Sumino apologizes to Kazuya. He wonders if this means that he won't get skewered anymore, while Rinko thanks her friend. Sumino then takes Rinko's hand before grabbing the girl possessively, declaring that she won't be giving Kazuya her best friend. As the two girls chat, Kazuya finally understands something. Sumino, who is a yandere dino human, is just feeling lonely. Before class starts, Rinko shyly asks Kazuya if they could talk alone for a moment. Briefly surprised, Kazuya wonders if this is about what happened the day before. He can already imagine it. Rinko deciding that people who are aware of the existence of dino humans should be eliminated. But Kazuya tells himself that couldn't be it. He's about to say yes when somebody interrupts. It's Sumino with a scary aura, telling him that she won't allow the two of them to be alone. Ever since yesterday's incident, their class president has continued to interfere with their conversations. She doesn't trust Rinko to be careful with their secret, especially since she had exposed herself to Kazuya on the first day of school. Sumino states that Rinko is terrible at staying in her human form, something that Kazuya agrees with. For a moment, Kazuya takes in the fact that Sumino is a Triceratops dino human. From what he can recall, Triceratops often fight one another as they're extremely territorial. So it's natural for her to be protective and wary of someone who knows about their secret. On top of that, she's the type to hold personal grudges. Sumino then forbids the two of them from having lunch together. Rinko tries protesting, but her best friend doesn't listen. Teary-eyed, she calls Sumino a bully before running away and calling Sumino stupid, much to the other girl's shock. Sumino turns to Kazuya, saying this is his fault, but when Kazuya asks how, she doesn't have an answer for him. During lunch, Rinko checks her surroundings to see if Sumino is nearby, making their classmates curious about what she's doing. Deeming that the coast is clear, Rinko approaches Kazuya. But then Sumino shows up from nowhere and gives Kazuya a long and tedious task. With Rinko's strategy failed, she resorts to writing notes to Kazuya in class. She folds the piece of paper, but when she's about to hand it to Kazuya, a flying pen knocks it out of her hand and pierces it against the board behind them. Shocked, the two of them turn to see that it was all Sumino's doing. Later, Rinko confronts her friend, but Sumino just says that she's trying to protect Rinko. The sight of the two of them together draws curious attention from their other classmates, who don't know about their friendship. Sumino reminds Rinko about how dangerous humans can be if you get too close to them, making Rinko feel chastised. Still, Rinko speaks while holding a package in her hands. Earnestly, she tells her best friend that there's something she wants to do for herself, surprising the other girl. Suddenly, Kazuya shouts that he sees another dinosaur eating the trees in the schoolyard. Everyone runs to see the dinosaur, and Sumino gets swept up with the crowd, leaving Rinko and Kazuya alone. He apologizes for making a fuss, but says he noticed Rinko desperately trying to tell him something. She feels touched before revealing that there's something she wanted to give him. Since Kazuya tried to protect her yesterday, she baked him some cookies to show her gratitude. A surprised Kazuya accepts the pack of cookies. Rinko thanks him once again, making Kazuya blush. Suddenly, Sumino shows up, startling the two as she says that if she had known that's all Rinko wanted to do, she wouldn't have interfered so much. The other girl admits that it's embarrassing, especially since it's the first time she made sweets for anyone. Sumino comments that she's changed a little and it makes her happy to see her best friend growing up and making decisions for herself. Rinko is surprised and becomes pleased when Sumino permits them to have lunch together again, as long as Rinko is careful. With a scary face, the president then threatens to skewer Kazuya if something happens to her best friend. While Sumino teases Rinko, Kazuya pulls out some cookies, smiling when he sees two that look like him and Rinko in her dinosaur form. During recess, Rinko is approached by a group of girls who interrogate her about where she's been going for lunch. Immediately, Kazuya looks alarmed as Rinko struggles to answer. To both of their shock, the girls wonder if Rinko and Kazuya are dating each other. Rinko asks why they think that, and the girls explain it's because neither she nor Kazuya is ever in class during lunch breaks. Just then, the boys join the conversation, also quite invested in the topic. They reveal a rumor going around that the two are dating, which has become the talk of the school. Their classmates tell Rinko her popularity stems from her kindness and cuteness. One even confesses he's been asking her out since the start of school, only to be rejected every time. He adds that Rinko has a growing fan base among the upperclassmen, much to her surprise. In contrast, Kazuya is known as the eccentric dinosaur guy, with a deep, almost obsessive love for prehistoric creatures. Though he's nice, his frequent announcements about dinosaur sightings make him a loner. While he's not disliked, people find his behavior unusual. Inwardly, Kazuya acknowledges that Rinko naturally gets along with everyone, perhaps due to the theory that T-Rexes were social dinosaurs who thrived in groups. However, he believes her true appeal lies in her innate charm, which draws people to her. Compared to her, Kazuya sees himself as just a socially awkward otaku who happens to know her secret. He feels grateful simply to talk to her normally, and doesn't expect anything more to come of their relationship. When they mention that it can't be fun having lunch with a dinosaur professor, Rinko looks bothered before telling everyone that it's not true, recalling how Kazuya looks so enthusiastic as he tells her everything he knows about dinosaurs. Rinko claims that all the stories about dinosaurs are interesting and fun, so having meals with Kazuya is fun. The person in question looks stunned, as do their other classmates. The boys, however, are not happy, threatening to hurt Kazuya. Just then, Sumino enters the room and sees all the commotion. She reminds them that the next class is in the chemistry lab, but the others explain to her that they were just discussing the rumor about Kazuya and Rinko's relationship. Huffing, Sumino tells them that it's false as Rinko spends her lunch breaks with her. She reveals that the two of them are childhood friends, surprising their classmates. Sumino winks at Rinko and thankfully she takes the hint. She confirms to their classmates that she's having meals with Sumino, which placates the girls and relieves the boys. During lunch, Kazuya admits he's relieved, as he could never have covered up the situation as smoothly as their class president did. However, Sumino only worsened his reputation by telling everyone that he roams the school, imagining himself in an ancient forest, staring at ferns while wolfing down his food. In the present, Kazuya looks defeated but admits he did do that in the past. Rinko reassures him, saying she genuinely enjoys having lunch with him. Kazuya thanks her, catching her off guard. He then excitedly shares a new discovery about Triceratops, which Rinko listens to with genuine interest. Unbeknownst to them, Sumino watches from nearby. She reflects on helping Rinko even though she's against her best friend spending time alone with a human. Despite this, she can't ignore how happy Rinko seems. Still, Sumino resolves not to forgive Kazuya if things go any further. Meanwhile, Kazuya suddenly shivers, feeling a strange chill run down his spine. After school, Rinko approaches Sumino, inviting her to walk home together. When Sumino asks about the other girls Rinko usually hangs out with, Rinko explains that they're currently busy with other activities. Though Sumino thinks it's better for Dino humans not to be around each other too much, she agrees to accompany Rinko, who immediately suggests they get something to eat. Suddenly, Rinko notices Kazuya and approaches him. He looks terrible as he tells her that he just lost his wallet. He reveals he had it when he came to school, and now he has no money at all. Distraught, he explains that he won't be able to buy this month's edition of the Dinosaur Lad magazine, causing Sumino to have no sympathy for him. Just then, Rinko says she might be able to find his wallet, revealing that she has a sharp sense of smell. Immediately, Kazuya freaks out over this fact, launching into how some analyses suggest that the T-Rex has a comparable sense of smell to that of a dog or a cat. Kazuya pleads with her to find his wallet and she agrees. At her question, Kazuya reveals that he keeps his wallet in his back pocket. Much to his surprise, she crouches down near his behind. Sumino comments that using other pieces of cloth should be a good enough reference for Kazuya's smell. Retracing Kazuya's steps, Rinko identifies a spot where Kazuya confirms he spent time observing a group of pigeons that morning. As he starts talking about how birds evolved from dinosaurs, Sumino turns away, while Rinko points to the next location. Using her sharp sense of smell, Rinko leads the way as Kazuya recounts his day. During morning break, he sat alone in a corner reading. At lunch, he sat with Rinko and shared a lot of dinosaur facts. During afternoon break, he again sat alone, reading and avoiding conversation with anyone. Kazuya is dismayed. He didn't want the girls to know he has no friends, but Rinko tries to comfort him. Rinko mentions that the scent trail ends right where they are, and Sumino adds that there's no report of the wallet in the staff room either. Kazuya apologizes for making a fuss over it. He explains that he couldn't let it go because the wallet contained an ammonite fossil, which surprises Rinko. She remembers that the fossil was what first sparked Kazuya's interest in dinosaurs. Kazuya admits it isn't much of a treasure, but he wanted to keep it with him. He thanks the two girls and says he'll search for it himself, still determined to find it, even if it takes years. Sumino tries to jog his memory regarding anything unusual that happened earlier. Kazuya then reveals that he's often pecked by a crow on his way out of school. Looking up, Sumino asks if he's referring to the crow right above them. It turns out the crow has Kazuya's wallet. He accuses the bird of stealing it when it pecked him earlier. Just then, the crow pulls out the case with the ammonite fossil. In an instant, Rinko transforms into her dinosaur form. With a terrifying voice, the Tyrannosaurus tells the crow to return the fossil, which scares the bird. Sumino and Kazuya watch as the crow drops the fossil and flies away. Then a cloud of smoke bursts out, and Rinko reverts to her human form, crouching on the ground in pain. Sumino scolds her for doing something so reckless, but Rinko reassures her she's fine and hands the fossil to Kazuya. Proudly, she presents it to Kazuya, as after all, it's an important memento for him. Blushing, Kazuya thanks her and Rinko smiles happily. Sumino, though sighing, smiles as well while watching them. In the end, Kazuya couldn't recover his wallet from the crow, missing out on buying that month's edition of Dinosaur Lad. When Kazuya sees Rinko, he becomes curious why she's carrying a large bag. Giggling, she tells him that he must have forgotten something important. Rinko reminds Kazuya that she's a dino human, but Kazuya really didn't need that reminder with her tail poking out. Rinko then happily tells him that she and Sumino will be visiting the person who created them. Instantly, Kazuya becomes curious. He asks if their home is in North America during the late Cretaceous period. As Kazuya has some misconceptions about what a dino human's home would look like, Rinko invites him to come with them, which makes Kazuya immediately interested. However, Sumino absolutely forbids him from joining them. believing him to be a perverted otaku who's only interested in dinosaurs. As Sumino still has some student council work to finish, she tells Rinko to go ahead. Rinko apologizes to Kazuya, and though he tells her not to worry about it, he ends up stalking Rinko. Though he's never doubted the existence of dino humans after seeing their dinosaur forms, he can't let the opportunity of seeing more pass him. He silently apologizes to Rinko, thinking he'll just take a quick look, go home, and apologize afterward, or so he thought. Rinko starts sleeping on a bench. As he wonders whether Tyrannosaurus are cold-blooded or warm-blooded animals, Kazuya still can't get over his shock that she'd suddenly sleep on a park bench. On top of that, she apparently brought a lot of fried chicken on the way there. The smell of chicken attracts a bunch of kids, but Rinko is happy to share some of her chicken with them. Though Kazuya can tell she wants to eat all of it herself at the moment, she's somehow resisting the temptation. Behind him, he doesn't notice that a pair of ladies are observing his suspicious behavior. 10 minutes later, Rinko starts playing with the children, seemingly getting along great with them. When a kid accidentally trips, Rinko saves her from harm by using her body as a shield. Kazuya is momentarily concerned, and the kids are worried as well. But upon seeing her bright smile, Kazuya is reassured. Suddenly, one of the kids asks if there's anyone Rinko likes, shocking both her and Kazuya. While Rinko becomes flustered, the boys mischievously declare they want to be candidates for her love. Kazuya is stunned, realizing the kid's curiosity mirrors that of everyone at school. Blushing, Rinko admits there is someone she likes. Kazuya's eyes widen, and he tells himself that, of course, something like this is bound to happen, as after all she is still a girl despite being a dino human. Somehow there's a weird feeling in his chest, but he tells himself not to focus on that, as he's only curious about dinosaurs. Meanwhile, the ladies behind him are wondering if Kazuya has some bad intentions toward the children. Later on, Rinko gets tired from all the playing and goes to sleep again. Kazuya is starting to become concerned about where she lives and about the person who created her. As he can't just leave a sleeping girl alone in the park, he's wondering whether he should wake her up and apologize for stalking her, but then someone calls out to him. It's Sumino, absolutely angry that Kazuya is in the park. As he looks quite guilty, Sumino immediately figures out that he was probably following Rinko. As she's very furious, Kazuya starts apologizing. Their loud voices eventually wake Rinko up. Rinko is glad to see Kazuya, which surprises him. While Sumino continues to threaten Kazuya with bodily harm, Rinko notices something above them, a bright light. Kazuya is stunned as he gazes at the brightly shaped object. Rinko then announces that her pickup has arrived. When Rinko discovers that Kazuya wants to see the base of her tail, she blushes before telling him that he's a pervert. Kazuya wakes up, vehemently denying it, but thankfully it's all just a dream. Finally, he notices two dinosaurs looking at him curiously. Horrified, he instantly recognizes them as velociraptors. He backs away, only to bump into another dinosaur-looking creature, which Kazuya doesn't recognize. The creature speaks, introducing himself as Dio. He reveals that they are inside his spaceship after abducting Kazuya from Earth. The spaceship is currently outside of Earth's atmosphere, much to Kazuya's alarm. Dio admits that he's surprised Kazuya knows the raptors' names, but not his. Kazuya explains that outside of dinosaurs, he doesn't know much about alien stuff. Dio then tells him that he's a dinosauroid, which surprises Kazuya. His interest is immediately piqued, and Dio confirms his suspicion that he's an intelligent life form that evolved from dinosaurs. Dio reveals that the name of his home planet is Deep. Unlike Earth, where dinosaurs went extinct, the dinosaurs on Deep evolved and became rulers of the planet, resulting in a much more advanced civilization than that of humans on Earth. As Kazuya grows concerned about what the aliens plan to do with Earth, Dio reassures him, saying there's no reason to worry. He has no animosity toward Earth. He adds that he knows Kazuya is open-minded thanks to Rinko when they suddenly hear a shout. Both turn to look, only to see Rinko and Sumino. Rinko immediately tells Dio not to tell Kazuya anything weird before turning to Kazuya, smiling as she tells him she's glad he woke up. She explains that when they were pulled up by the spaceship, Kazuya was so shocked that he fainted. Meanwhile, Dio assures Sumino that no one saw the spaceship, but she remains convinced that Dio is being careless. When Kazuya notices their outfits, Rinko reveals that it's what they wear inside the spaceship. Shyly, she asks if they look strange, causing Kazuya to blush. He quickly assures them they look great, but just then, the two velociraptors bump into him. To Kazuya's surprise, they transform into kids, who then warmly welcome Rinko and Sumino. Suddenly, more children arrive, ecstatic that the two older dino humans are back. Dio confirms to Kazuya that all the children are dino humans. He explains that the children are third-generation dino humans, while Rinko and Sumino are second-generation. Dio then tells Kazuya that it's very rare for a galaxy to have a planet with an environment that supports thriving life forms. His home planet, Deep, has a similar environment which led to life forms emerging almost identical to those on Earth. After discovering Earth by chance and studying its life forms, the devastating asteroid impact occurred, ending the evolution of dinosaurs, so they left. Tens of millions of years later, Dio returned to Earth with the intention of reviving dinosaurs, only to be surprised that mammals had evolved into intelligent life forms. The Deep then created a plan called Project Revive TD. By combining dinosaur and human DNA, they intended to create a new species and send them to Earth again. Something made possible by the samples they had collected and their advanced scientific knowledge. He says that when this happens, Earth will once again be dominated by the dinosauroids. Alarmed and fearful, Kazuya asks Dio if they plan to eliminate Earthlings. Before Dio can answer, Sumino interrupts, assuring Kazuya that won't happen and berating Dio for tricking him. She explains that their goal as Dino humans is to relocate peacefully and gradually reveal their existence, as a test to see if they can integrate into humanity. This explanation eases Kazuya's concerns. Rinko then adds that they all grew up on the spaceship and that it was Dio who raised them. Dio proudly reveals that he's the head of Project Revive TD, claiming that he's a pretty important individual. Kazuya wonders if it's fine to reveal all of this to an outsider, but Dio tells him that this is compensation for getting him involved in their affairs. However, he still has countermeasures. He points a device at Kazuya, saying that until the appropriate time comes, humans must not know about the existence of dino humans. With a sinister look, Dio says he's not joking this time and powers on the device, pointing it right at Kazuya. 250 million years ago, dinosaurs ruled the Earth for about 200 million years, but their reign came to an end 65 million years ago. If dinosaurs existed now, Kazuya wonders if they could coexist with humanity. Suddenly he is torn from his thoughts when Rinko addresses him. Kazuya startles when she leans in close, asking if he is okay. When Kazuya tells her that he was just thinking, Rinko suggests that he eat some food and she proceeds to chomp on some chicken, including the bones, which never fails to impress Kazuya. While Rinko is shocked that she already ate all the fried chicken, Kazuya reflects on how she is a dino human, and somehow the two of them manage to be close. As she feels very disappointed, he tries cheering her up by talking about dinosaurs. Though he has a hard time talking to girls, Kazuya finds it enjoyable being with Rinko. Suddenly, a bunch of students show up surrounding the two of them. Immediately, Kazuya dives behind Rinko to cover her tail from view. When Kazuya asks what he did wrong, the students ask him not to play dumb, as surely a dinosaur nerd would know how there are multiple dino humans currently rampaging all over the world. Kazuya is surprised, but the article shown by the student provides picture evidence of the chaos that the dino humans are causing. The guy then points his finger at Rinko, accusing her of being a dino human. Kazuya tries to calm them, but he only gets hit by a rock. The students become a terrifying mob, calling Rinko a monster. Kazuya tells them that Rinko won't attack anyone, but they don't listen, too consumed with their fear. Rinko is about to be hit by a bat. The attack lands, but it's Kazuya who takes the damage. Rinko is worried, but Kazuya continues to insist that though Rinko is a dino human, she's a nice girl, and definitely not a monster. Thrusting his hand to protect her, Kazuya declares that it doesn't matter whether Rinko is a dino human or not, as she is his friend. Suddenly, Kazuya finds himself face to face with Dio, who tells him that the simulation is finished and that he has passed. The dinosauroid reveals that he did a little brain hacking and everything that happened just now was virtual reality. He then points to his device, saying it's just a test to see how Kazuya would deal with a dino-human related emergency. As he processes the fact that what just happened wasn't real, Rinko apologizes for tricking Kazuya. However, he isn't angry at all. Instead, he expresses his relief that Rinko isn't hated by everyone at school, his words deeply touching to the dino-human. Dio declares that Kazuya is worthy of their trust, explaining that if he had failed the test, his memory would have been wiped and he would have been ejected into the stratosphere. He then admits that he has been questioning the plan from the beginning, specifically incorporating human DNA into embryos created from dinosaurs that were once destroyed by natural forces. Dio constantly wonders if their actions are egotistical and unethical. However, after hearing Kazuya's words during the simulation, Dio finds the courage to continue, and hopes Kazuya will continue looking after his children, a request Kazuya is more than willing to fulfill. Dio then reveals that there are actually more dino humans around Kazuya that he's not aware of, much to his surprise. Without giving the human a moment to recover, Dio then snaps his fingers, telling Kazuya that he should be going home now. Protesting against his sudden departure, Kazuya disappears in the next second. Dio comments that Kazuya is not a bad person at all, but still Sumino finds him a freakish dino otaku. Silently, Dio reflects that 10 years ago he made a mistake and committed a crime. But he muses things will be okay, as he tells Rinko that she has a good friend. With a bright smile, she agrees with him, making Dio sigh fondly, silently thanking Kazuya. Meanwhile, the human in question finds himself being treated like a pervert by the police. That is the end of the recap up to chapter 11. Make sure to check out the pinned comment for info on the next part.